Hello students, in this video we're gonna discuss about Geoffrey Chaucer's story, the story told by the knight in the Canterbury Tales. And the story is really very important because first of all it is the first story which was told by any of the pilgrims, and the other reason is that this one was awarded as the best story. So these two questions are already important, like already you can now answer that the first story which was told was by the knight, and the second is that it is the best story. Then now let us discuss it in detail so that we even can answer some of the questions in case they can ask us. This is very important not just from UGC net point of view, but these questions from Canterbury Tales can also be asked in IAS examination, PCS, or even any other state level exam in case you are appearing in it. So the story is about a duke of Theseus who actually comes back to his town, and he meets with a group of ladies, those who are lamenting and weeping because their husbands are killed. And the worst part is that like even if they were soldiers, their bodies were not buried, and they consider it as a source of, like, it is more like dishonoring the soldiers by letting their bodies unburied. So what they like, after listening to this news, this guy Theseus, he gets infuriated and he feels like that, okay, I will seek revenge. And then he fights with the knights, and two of them, they survive. So just like we have even in our this constitution, that in case someone survives after being hanging once, the government or the power is not allowed to hang the same person twice. I think I watched it in some movie also. And then here also it's the same. So this guy actually takes both of them are imprisoned, and now when they are prison after a few years, both of them, they are just day and night just sitting there. There's just a small window, and one day they look at Emily. Emily is actually the sister-in-law of Theseus, and both of them, they fell in love, and they are more like that, she's mine and she's mine. One is saying that because I have looked at her first, she's mine, but the other one said because I fell in love with her first, so she's mine. Of course, these are just vague statements, just nothing. So what they do is that they develop this feeling of hostility against each other. It starts prevailing. So then one day a person, and when they were imprisoned, there was this condition that they won't get free ever. Why? Because usually these are the prisoners of war kind of thing. But then one day there's some guy who comes and who is a mutual friend of Theseus as well as of Aracide. So he requests that you just let go Aracide. So although Theseus allows Aracide to leave the city, but he says that you are banished, you are not allowed to come back to my place. Aracide felt like, wow, he's like, my earlier situation was better. At least I was able to see Emily every day, and now when I'm banished, right, what I'm gonna do with my life, because Emily is here. But still he leaves with no other option, and he laments so much. He is struck by such a bad fit of melancholy that his complete physical appearance changes. And then he's just roaming around in the nearby forest area, so that one day he might have this opportunity to look at Emily. And in the meanwhile, this guy, Palamon is feeling like Aracide is at least at a better position, because he can start his own, like he can at least gather his own army, and one day he can attack and then finally win Emily. But like both of them, they have their own plights. But this guy Aracide, what he does, because his complete physical appearance has been changed, he comes back to the town and finally enters in the house of Emily as a page. So he starts working over there, and slowly he also gets recognized in that area. But still, meanwhile, this guy, Palamon, who's already in the prison, in jail, he doesn't have any other option. But one day he runs away. Once he reaches the forest, because he's running, he finally reaches the forest. And over there's another guy, and the guy is Aracide. Aracide is so angry with God. He's blaming God. Why have you done this thing with me? Although Emily is exactly right in front of me, but still I can't propose to her. I can't marry her. What shall I do now? and he's blaming three gods. One is Juno, then Mars, and Venus. Venus is the goddess of love, so he's blaming everyone, and he's in a bad shape. Then what happens is, when he's lamenting, when he's complaining and grumbling about his situation, Palamon hears this thing, he listens that, acha, this is the story of Aracide, right? So then they both start fighting with each other badly. They just want to kill each other. Ki chalo, in case one will die, at least the other one can marry Emily. Although there is no scope yet, right? But still, they just proceed to fight. And in the meanwhile, Theseus comes along with his wife and Emily. And then they just, investigate the situation. To which Theseus says that both of them are culprit, if I see it, right? Because the way I see it, one is an exile who wasn't allowed to enter my territory, but still he did, so definitely I should be killing him. And the second one was a prisoner who is trying to escape the prison. But when the ladies, they intervene, so he just says that okay, fine. So he looks for a middle path. He says that for 1 year, both of you just go away from here. After 1 year, you have to come back with at least 100 knights on your side. And then there will be a battle, and whosoever will win the battle will eventually win Emily also. So a year passes on, and then in the next year when it arrives, this guy, both Palamon and Aracide, they come back and they start fighting. Now just before the evening before the battle, right, Emily, she prays to the goddess of love, Venus, that please bless me with the one who will actually love me, bless me with one with whom I'll be happy, right? So she is just praying these things. The second one is this Aracide, he prays to Mars, and Mars, the god of Mars, he's the power. He says that don't worry, you will win the battle. So I think we have to be very smart what we are asking. He didn't ask for Emily, he said that let me win the battle. So it's not about the battle, it's about the final, what you actually want. Directly ask what you actually want from God. Otherwise, in case you will be just going around, maybe God will get confused, right? Then this guy, Palamon, he prays to Saturn, the god of destiny, and says that I really love Emily, please let her be mine. So he says that the god, he blesses him that okay beta, Emily will be yours. Now next day when they are fighting, finally Palamon loses the battle and Aracide wins the battle. And just before King Theseus is about to give Emily's hand into Aracide's hand, Palamon looks at the sky and says that you said that I'll be getting Emily, God, but now Emily is going with Aracide. God makes the much awaited miracle, and Aracide's horse actually fumbles. Aracide falls down, and once he falls down, and once he fell down, he's about to die. And just before his death, he says that I know that Palamon was the right match for Emily. At least they are of the same age. Now I am old. How long I would have stayed with Emily? So I think whatsoever God has done is the best for all of us. So see the beauty of the story. Of course, it is very important. It is important that who prayed to whom. And then another thing that makes this story really important, apart from the fact that this is the best story and the first story, is I always say that in case someone else has written about this thing, then it becomes important. First of all, as I say that, always I tell you that Geoffrey Chaucer's works, why we don't consider them as novels, apart from the fact that yes, they are written in verses. Another thing is because they are not novel. They are already taken from something that has either really happened or something which was already written. Right, so it is more like inspiration. But who wrote after being inspired from this work is William Shakespeare along with John Fletcher. He wrote a play in 1613, 1613, and the name of the play is Two Noble Kinsmen. Right, so this one, another important work which was written after this work is the one by John Dryden, and he wrote Palamon and Aracide, which is actually a which is actually a kind of a story only. and he wrote it in the simple language, because if we see that the language which Chaucer used is now archaic English, so sometimes it's difficult for us to understand it. So in case you would actually like to read the complete stories rather than going for the archaic text, what you can do is, there is a book published by this Penguin University, and I think Oxford University also has published it now. So you have to check about Oxford, I'm not sure, but Penguin definitely has. So it is written or published or printed in simple language, so you can actually use it, you can refer to it. So for other important works which you should be reading, please keep watching, keep sharing. Let learning be your muse, let sharing be your muse. And in these hard times of quarantine, I would just pray that you all will be blessed with a lot of positivity and abundance. God bless.